Hey everyone, welcome to Tactical Marines TV. This is our monthly collab with Pete here. We're going to do a 23-man roster, only MLS-based players for the USMNT. I'm looking very forward for Pete to place Josie Altidore on the center forward position. Pete, welcome back, Pete.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It's always fun doing these collabs.
All right, and guys, obviously most of you know him by now. Pete has his own channel as well, 11 Yanks, and I'm putting his link on the description. So if you're new here, subscribe to my channel and to his channel. If you're old here and you don't know Pete, please go check out his channel and hit the like button for the video to help both of us out. All right, so Pete, let's get started with this right away. We'll alternate. Maybe goalkeeper I'll say first and right back you'll say first. So let's go with this. It's a 23-man roster. So let's start with the first thing right away. 3 goalkeepers. Who would be the 3 goalkeepers we would bring for the USMNT if we had an MLS-based roster? Who would be your first option?
My starter at this point would probably be Matt Turner.
Me too. I would probably go with Matt Turner. My second option, the third one is probably where we're going to either disagree or just say we don't care, any of them. My second would be David Ochoa.
Same.
Who would be your third one?
My third one would be Sean Johnson, just because he's decent with his feet, so he'll fit the style that we want to play. He's going to be inconsistent as a keeper, but there aren't a lot of options, out there. Either you have really old guys like Brad Guzan or, Stephen Fry from Seattle, or you have very young guys like JT Marcinkowski who just starting out. Hard to really judge them. Sean Johnson seems relatively reliable within the scheme of MLS.
So the thing is, the third goalkeeper, I'm just hoping we never have to use him if we get to this point, and we usually don't. I was just going to I was like, go with Bill Hamid. Kind of old, experience, not too good.
The difference with Bill Hamid, I guess, and Sean Johnson is Bill can't play with his feet. He's terrible with his feet.
Yeah.
So
but he's more experienced at the same time. And I'm hoping the third goalkeeper doesn't play. But then again, we could just go with Brad Guzan if that's the case.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like Brad Guzan also still thinks he should be the number 1. So that's the problem. It's sort of the same mentality of like a Josie or a Bradley where they're like, no, I should be there. And that creates an environment where they feel entitled. And so you don't want entitlement on your roster. It's bad for team spirit.
We'll do this. I'll give you that one because, again, the third goalkeeper position, just like me, I'm pretty sure you don't want him to play. You don't expect him to play. It's Matt Turner and then David Ochoa. And honestly, maybe by the end of the MLS season, we'll even change our opinion on that and maybe place Ochoa ahead of Turner. Who knows? Yeah,
it's a wait and see how Ochoa does this season and also how Turner does. Does he continue to improve? Does Turner maybe need to leave MLS at some point and test himself in a tougher opposition? I said it on my channel, but I want to see Turner maybe get the Gold Cup. If we take Stefan to Nations League, maybe we take Turner to Gold Cup because we have no competition for Stefan right now. So we need to at least look at what does Matt Turner look like under some pressure because he doesn't face a lot of pressure in New England,
And he has been shaky with his feet from time to time.
Yeah. I mean, that's not his strongest point, his ability to distribute. So we need to see more of him under real pressure and see how he performs,
All right, now let's keep going with the video. And everyone that's watching it, feel free to comment your 23-man roster. We would gladly want to see it. It's quite intriguing to do the MLS. Now let's go to the right backs. And since you went first with the goalkeeper, I'll give you my first right back that I would bring. And I would actually bring Julian Araujo.
Yeah, that's my first one also.
Yeah, I think is he the best one right now, the right back? Perhaps. In the qualifiers, it's debatable. Aaron Herrera looked better during those games. But I would still bring him.
I mean, so Araujo's 20, Herrera's almost 24. There's a big age difference. I think potential-wise, Araujo has more than Herrera. It's just so hard to say. Araujo did not have the greatest tournament in Guadalajara. Neither did Herrera, though. So I don't know. For me, I actually had a different right back for my second choice than Herrera.
I went with Aaron Herrera. Who did you pick?
I picked Jalen Lindsey from Sporting Kansas City. He's improved a lot in the last year or two. He's still 21 years old. He was very good against the Red Bulls on opening weekend. And so right now, if I had to take him, I would take probably Lindsey over Herrera.
Even though Herrera can be even though he wasn't that good either, more experienced in the position as well. And honestly, wouldn't you say they're at the same level, kind of?
Similar level, I'd say. That you're talking about a similar level of technique and ability. I just liked that Jalen Lindsey was able to get higher up the field against the Red Bulls and cause real problems for them. I've never seen Herrera cause real problems for an opponent,
He won't.
from an attacking perspective. So that's why I picked Lindsay on this one.
So what do we do? Odd or even here figure it out?
We can just have different rosters, like your 23 and my 23.
We'll let everyone in the comment section. Just guys, who would you pick? Who would you guys pick for the right back position? They could also disagree with Julian Araujo, even though we agree on that one.
Yeah.
Now left back. I think we're gonna agree on left back. I'm assuming I'm gonna go with George Bello and Sam Vines.
Yeah, George Bello and Sam Vines are the same ones for me. I was tempted based on, okay, this is heavy recency bias, and it's just one game, so I didn't put him in. I really liked Andrew Gutman for the Red Bulls on opening weekend. I thought he was really solid defensively, which we don't have a lot of in the pool. We have some attacking fullbacks, not very strong defensive fullbacks, so I liked him. Obviously, that's one game. I'm not going to put him in my roster based on one game, but he is somebody that definitely crept into my mind, and I want to see more of him this season. Because to be honest, I don't rate Sam Vines at all.
I'm not a big fan at all.
Showed us that his ceiling is probably decent MLS player. I don't think Sam Vines will ever be in Europe.
I don't rate him very highly either. To me, and even the two players we mentioned, I would start George Bello. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Bello right now.
And even Bello, I have question marks about. In terms of if we're talking about the senior team roster, I still have question marks about Bello. But he's definitely my preferred choice over Sam Vines.
So we'll go with that. Left back, pretty straightforward. Both agree, and I think many will pick them as well. Let's go to the center backs position. And since I went first, there's 4 center backs. Give me your first 2.
I'll give you my first 2 starters. So my first 2 starters are Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm. So starters, there's 3 options for me to start, but I'll give you 2. I'll go also with Aaron Long there as an option as well.
Oh my God, Aaron Long.
Yeah.
How did I forget about Aaron Long? Okay, I'm revising mine.
Look, you guys just saw this. You saw how Pete has an MLS anti-agenda right there.
No. I was like, where are all these MLS defenders? Of course. Okay, let me change that. Aaron Long and Miles Robinson.
Yeah. I was going to go with Aaron Long, and then the second option, I'm in between Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman. I do prefer Miles Robinson if we're not parking the bus, I'm going with Miles Robinson. If we're parking the bus, maybe Zimmerman's a little bit more a better option. And then the fourth option that I had, I was at a point where I was like, there's no defender here for me. There's no one. So I'm just hoping I never have to use. I'm just going to put Henry Kessler there, and I don't have anyone else to select.
Okay. Just on your Robinson versus Zimmerman point real quick. Robinson plays very well with his feet, which is not something you can say for Zimmerman. So that's sort of why I would pick him over Zimmerman. For my fourth center back, I chose, similarly to you, there's a lot of guys on the same level. Henry Kessler, Justin Glad, what's his name? Pineda from Chicago Fire. So I went with Abubakar Keita, one of the few left-footed center backs that we have, plays for Columbus Crew. Yes, I know he's not a full-time starter for them, but that's because they have Jonathan Mensah, who was a Ghana captain, or at least a Ghana international at the World Cup. It's hard to beat that out. Most teams don't spend money on center backs, and they don't get quality center backs in MLS. Columbus, I'll give them kudos. They went and got a really good center back to play, and that's probably one of the reasons they won MLS Cup, investing in defenders. So I think Keita is still a solid player. We saw him at the Under-20 World Cup at this point, and he's left-footed, and he can distribute somewhat. So I would put him as my fourth center back.
Yeah, the reason potential-wise I would pick him for sure. It's just whether now since he's not starting, I had a little bit of a bias towards I'm going to pick players that are starting. But look, I don't like the pick of Henry Kessler. It's just I really didn't know. I didn't know what else to do there. And what Pete said is true about the whole MLS not investing on defenders. And that does have to do with investment limitations, such as a salary cap and DP. If you have limited DPs, which, you have to have if you're going to have DPs, you're going to spend money on who sells. And who sells? Guys that get assists, goals, that do nice, not defenders. They don't sell.
They don't sell. But also, it's easy to train a group of average defenders to defend well as a team than it is to... Whereas sometimes with attacking, you need more creativity and skill. So, I understand that mentality there of spending more money on attackers. Although I wish more MLS teams would at least spend one DP player on a central defender.
I've talked to many players, and when I ask them one thing in soccer, they always say the easiest thing in soccer, regardless of who you're playing against, is to defend. create plays, be technical, creative, all of that combined is much harder. It's something that you either have or you don't. While on defense, obviously there's a lot that plays into it, especially if you're playing against Mbappe, Lewandowski, those guys. But sometimes you can overcome with athletic ability, strength, all that. But that's off
organization too.
Organization,
you can organize very well.
A good goalkeeper.
Right. Yeah.
We've reached
so
the midfield. Defense. Midfield gets a little more interesting.
Yeah.
I went with this. That's how I went to midfield. I went with 2 holding midfielders. So I'm going to start with that. 2 options, obviously. And the 2 CDMs that I picked were Jackson Yeo and Kellen Acosta. For moment, not for potential.
Interesting. So I did something a little different. I went Jackson Yeo and Tanner Tessman. Tanner Tessman, we haven't seen a ton of him. We saw him last year a little bit to a degree. We're going to see more of him this year, I hope. And I think he was one of the guys in Guadalajara that didn't get as much game time. He did come in late, and maybe Jason Kreis wanted to stick with his original guys. But I think Tessman could be a really strong defensive midfielder. Like, he's not going to have the same passing range as Jackson Yeo necessarily, but he's going to do the dirty work that you want from a holding midfielder.
We'll keep that one different then. I would go with Acosta now, but yeah, if you told me in 2 years from now, I don't think Acosta is going to be ahead of that. But now central midfielder. I only picked 1 central midfielder. Do you want to go first?
You're talking like a box-to-box 8?
A box-to-box 8 that if you need, he could play also as an attacking midfielder. A guy with more freedom in the midfield, but not necessarily a 10. I went with Cole Bassett.
Cole Bassett, okay.
That's more of a potential pick as well, but I liked what I saw from last season. He's one of those midfielders that are a goal-scoring threat. So I went with Cole Bassett there.
Okay, so I have 2 guys in my 8. So I have 2 6s, 2 10s, and 2 8s. Although I know that the 8s can be played like in the system that we play, the 4-3-3, they can play as an attacking 10, sort of a dual 8. The 2 guys that I went with were Paxton Pomykal and hang on, go on my list here. Paxton Pomykal and Sebastian Lletget. I think they both play as. So
I wanted to put Pomykal. It's just that the injury, and he came back now, obviously off the bench. He's returning. I don't know how he is. I wanted to pick him. He's one of my favorite players there. And if he was healthy, I'm gonna stick to Cole Bassett. I do have Lletget on my team as well. I just placed him as more of an attacking midfielder / winger. So I might also use him as a winger, depending on the options. Might not start as a winger. And then the other attacking midfielder I put / winger was Kaiden Clark, that he can play both if needed.
Gotcha. So are we going into 10s then or no?
Yeah. So go to your 10s now.
So the 2 10s that I selected are Kaiden Clark and Gianluca Bussio. I think that technique is something that is hard to find right now in MLS, particularly technique in attacking midfield. And those 2 very young players have it. They have technique. They lack experience, but they have technique, and I'm willing to gamble on them.
I also put Gianluca Bussio on mine, but he's just as an attacking midfielder, even though we saw he can play as a false 9 apparently. So, but I put Kaiden Clark as a attacking midfielder / winger. The reason I did that is you're about to find out. I only selected 2 wingers for this team, 2 true wingers. Oh, wow. Okay. So that's the reason why I put Lletget and Clark as also options for the wing. So let's just recap on the midfield because it got a little confusing. My midfield: Jackson Yeo, Kellen Acosta, Cole Bassett, Gianluca Bussio, Kaiden Clark, and Sebastian Lletget. What about yours? Just to recap.
Mine is Jackson Yeo, Tanner Tessman, Sebastian Lletget, Paxton Pomykal, Kaiden Clark, and Gianluca Bussio.
So just a few different. So now we're going to go to the wingers. I only chose 2. I'm assuming you have 3 or 4, right?
I have 3 wingers. Yeah, 3 pure wingers.
All right. So I'll go with my 2, and then you'll do your 3. So my 2 are Chris Miller from Orlando City, and I would still put Paul Arriola when it comes to the MLS now that he's back. And I didn't consider Jordan Morris because I don't know what's his situation. If he's going to come back from the loan, I don't know what's going on. So Paul Arriola and Chris Miller.
Well, so I put the same, Chris Mueller, Paul Arriola, but I did include Jordan Morris because his loan spell with Swansea is over. He's got an ACL tear. He's not going back there. He's going to have to rehab that in Seattle and hopefully come back better and stronger, which I think he can do. He's had an ACL before. But I think at this point of his career, Jordan Morris is probably an MLS lifer. I just don't know if he's going to get another loan to another club or get sold. I just think coming back from 2 ACLs, clubs aren't going to risk that on a guy who will be in his late 20s by the time he comes back. He's already 26, he'll be 27 by the time he comes back. If he has one good season, he'll be 28. Clubs aren't going to pay for that. So I think he's an MLS lifer at this point.
Yeah, if we do go based off that, I would place Jordan Morris in my team. I obviously, now that I didn't put it, I'm not going to add him because of that reason. If he is truly back in the MLS, the loan is done, I would put him there as a winger for sure. To me, he's even better than, if healthy, he's better than both wingers I mentioned, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he's the best American winger in MLS if he's healthy, for sure.
So yeah, I'm gonna stick to Miller and Arriola. But if we did have Morris, if it was confirmed, I would definitely have him as well. Now we're
Before we move on from wingers real quick, can I just say there's 2 wingers I'm watching this year in MLS. They're young guys, and I didn't include them on this roster. But there's very few American wingers, if you notice, in MLS right now. Very few. And there's 2 guys I want to watch. One is Cameron Harper from the New York Red Bulls, who they just brought over from Celtic. And the other one is Kevin Paredes at DC United. 18 years old, played like a left wing back a lot last year. This year, I want to see if he can play, because that's what he really is, a pure winger. Can he play there, and how effective can he be? So just 2 guys to keep an eye on.
Why do you think we have this lack of wingers?
It's a good question. I think that realistically, the good wingers that we have in the pool, they went to Europe from a very young age. Uli Yanez, Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, Tim Weah. They didn't stay in MLS. But I do think part of the problem is that they'd rather have wingers who can work hard than wingers who can create. It's why so often what happens in MLS is you see our creative central players get shunted into wide positions. Even Berhalter does it, with like Gio Reyna, right? Our creative central players get shunted into wide positions so we can have athletes in the middle, and then there's no room for the wingers. And that happens at all levels of American soccer. The creative players go wide, and then the wingers go to the bench.
And notice how the 2 players we had in common, Paul Arriola and Chris Miller, they're hardworking wingers.
Yeah, hard workers, not the most skillful,
technically gifted. Yeah, not the most technically gifted. The flair is not there. They're more of a beat the defender on that little speed that they have and work a motor. They're a motor for the team, but they're not the technical player.
Even then, they're not that fast. Like Jordan Morris, I could say is explosive, but near Arriola and Mueller is that explosive. I think they're good at timing.
They're more agile, maybe agility wise.
They're more agile. They're more the guys who are going to make the pass infield and then run behind to receive the return pass.
Morris needs transition. He needs to pick up pace. Once he picks up pace, he's fast, but he's not fast in the first 5 yards. It's after that he picks up the speed and he's faster if he's healthy.
If he's healthy.
Now, guys, if you made it this far in the video, please check on the description, Pete's channel as well, 11 Yanks, or search it on YouTube, 11 Yanks. We do collabs in his video, in his channel as well, and hit the like button for this video, obviously, to help both of us grow on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Now we're going to go to the final section of the video where we're going to get to the center forwards. I have 3. You have 2 only, right?
I have 3. Well, I have 2 pure forwards, and I have 1 more who is sort of a hybrid forward winger.
Same. So do you want to go first or want me to go first? Well, let's say each one says one first. Say you're one of them.
Gyasi Zardes. I have him on.
No Altidore?
No Altidore. Sorry. Not scoring goals in MLS. So listen, I think Gyasi has so many limitations technically. But to give him credit, if we're talking about MLS forwards, he's one of the few American forwards who scores goals in MLS. So kudos to him. He would probably start for me.
So I also have Zardes. So that one we're already matched. Another player that I placed here, and we don't know if he's going to be with the USMNT or if he ever will be called anyway. He has been called before. And I think he's going to start over Altidore this season. It's Akinola. I would place Akinola along with Zardes. Not playing starting together, but maybe as the backup for Zardes.
Yeah. I mean, I would select – I still have question marks about Akinola. He seems more like an athlete than a technician to me. And so I'm not prepared to put him there just yet.
And one thing that we talked about earlier in the video that could be an option as well. I know your other option, there's one that will be a hybrid, and even Gianluca Bussio, which we've seen. We do need to see more, but we saw that he could be an option, a false 9, if needed. If needed, it could work. The first game against New York Red Bulls.
We only saw him in 1 game, so it's hard to say long term will that work out. But I'm curious to see it for sure.
And who's your second option?
At center forward, I had Jesus Ferreira.
I have him too. But wait, you said two. You say you have three, right? You have a third one.
I have a third one. He's not really a center forward. He can play there. He can play as a winger. He's more of a second forward. That's Anthony Fontana for the Philadelphia Union. 8 goals, 5 assists last season. Started off with a good goal in Champions League this year. Didn't play his best game on the weekend, I'm told. But I still think he has something to offer. Still young. A little bit of sort of a guy who can play multiple positions. And technical. Yeah. That's what I like about him. Technical player.
Yeah, he's more because he's from Philadelphia, the Union. They look into that. They like that. But yeah. I'm gonna go with Zardes. Obviously, not a big fan of Zardes, but it's hard to argue against him when it comes to the MLS squad. Akinola and Jesus Ferreira. So we just disagree there on Akinola and Fontana.
Yeah.
So we have the roster. Should we recap it real quick?
Yeah, let's briefly go over it again.
Okay, I'm going to go through mine real quick. I'm going to go through my entire one, and then you go through your entire one. So, guys, my entire one, and everyone feel free to comment yours down below. I'm going to go for the goalkeepers, Matt Turner, David Ochoa, and Bill Hamid. Right back, I'm going to go Junior Araujo and Aaron Herrera. Left back, I'm going to go Sam Vines and George Bello. The center backs, I'll go with Aaron Long, Walker Zimmerman, Miles Robinson, and Henry Kessler. My midfield has Jackson Yeo, Kellen Acosta, Cole Bassett, Gianluca Bussio. And then I also have Kaiden Clark and Leggett, also as options for the wingers or attacking midfielders, or 8 even for Leggett. Wingers, I have Chris Miller and Paul Arriola. And center forwards, I have Jassy Zardes, Akinola, and Jesus Ferreira. What about you? Go through yours real quick.
All right. My goalkeepers, I have Matt Turner, David Ochoa, and Sean Johnson. My defenders, I have Aaron Long, Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman, and Abubakar Keita. Those are my center backs. The fullbacks, I have George Bello, Sam Vines, Julian Araujo, and Jalen Lindsay. Holding midfielders are the 6. I have Jackson Ewell and Tanner Tessman. Box-to-box midfielders, I have Paxton Pomykal and Sebastian Leggett. And then 10s, I have Gianluca Bussio and Kaiden Clark. Wingers, I have Mueller, Paul Arriola, and Jordan Morris. And then up top, I have Jassy Zardes, Jesus Ferreira with Anthony Fontana as a hybrid winger/forward.
All right. So, guys, you got Pete's team, my team. There's some that we agree, some we disagree. Mostly, it's what we expected. Thank you very much for being here again, Pete.
No problem, man. Always a pleasure.
All right, guys, once again, before you leave, subscribe to the channel. Check out Pete's channel. We do have videos coming up at his as well, especially if you like this type of content, along with USMNT live streams. You guys know the deal. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a great day.